Hello everyone. Today is December 3rd, 2024, and exactly 1 year ago today, everything changed. My name is Michelle, and this is my YouTube channel that I started to kind of keep my friends and family informed, but it's kind of grown as I've gotten a few subscribers. I'm just documenting my journey. Started out really documenting the chapter, we'll call it, on stage 3 metastatic triple negative breast cancer. And in the course of that treatment, a year ago today, I had an adrenal crisis and was diagnosed with central adrenal insufficiency that was caused by Keytruda, which was the immunotherapy as part of my treatment for cancer. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. What's happened in a year? Well, I finished my IV chemotherapy. I had my first partial mastectomy for breast cancer, along with lymph node dissection. I had 30 rounds of radiation. I had 3.5 cycles of Xeloda oral chemotherapy, and I had my second surgery, which was a breast reduction for symmetry. I am currently healing from that surgery, and I've decided to discontinue chemotherapy because the side effects really outweighed the potential benefit to kind of clean up any cancer cells that were left in my body. So I'm closing the chapter on the cancer fight, and I'll be updating as I see doctors or monitor or get tested, any tests done or anything. But for now, I'm done with chemo, and the hope is that there is no more cancer left in my body. And so, I'll continue to update you as that goes. But for the adrenal insufficiency, this is the side effect that I'm left with. And so just do a little bit of a recap on what that means. Adrenal insufficiency is, there are 3 different types, and the primary adrenal insufficiency is often called Addison's disease. If it is autoimmune in origin, that is Addison's disease. If it's not autoimmune in origin, then it's just called primary adrenal insufficiency. And that means that the adrenal glands no longer produce any cortisol. Central adrenal insufficiency or secondary adrenal insufficiency means that the pituitary gland no longer produces ACTH, which is the hormone that tells the adrenal glands to produce cortisol. The effect, and then there's tertiary, where the hypothalamus doesn't produce CRH, which is the hormone that tells the pituitary to release ACTH, blah, blah, blah. The effect is the same in that my body no longer produces its own cortisol. It also does not produce DHEA. So I have no ACTH, and that is what stimulates cortisol and DHEA production. I could also really get into trouble with dehydration, where it becomes more difficult for my body to regulate electrolytes. So those are kind of the complications that are involved. Now, cortisol, if you've heard about cortisol, you think, oh, well, that's a bad hormone, right? We don't want to have too much cortisol. And that's true. You don't want to have too much. But if you don't have any, you die. And my body doesn't make any. So what happened was, I was on day 5 after my IV chemo treatment last year, and I started to feel a little shaky. And it was actually the treatment before that I really started to notice that there was a problem. I had really severe and crippling fatigue. Like, I couldn't stay awake longer than an hour or 2. I would get up and bring my daughter to school. I'd come home and I'd sleep until it was time to go pick her up. And then I'd come home and I'd sleep until my husband got home and woke me up and made me eat something. And then I would sleep until it was time to go to bed, and I would sleep all night. And I wasn't eating enough. I had absolutely no appetite. My husband had to force me to eat. I had a lot of weakness. I had orthostatic hypotension. So when I stood up, my blood pressure would drop. Actually, my blood pressure was really low anyway, even if I didn't stand up. But I would get really lightheaded and dizzy every time I stood up or did anything, like even walk down the hallway to go to the bathroom. I would get really dizzy and lightheaded and short of breath. I was a little not a little, I was nauseated to the point where I did actually take anti-nausea meds, but we attributed all of that to the chemotherapy, because at the same time I had transitioned from the first series of chemo infusions, which was carboplatin and paclitaxel, to the second series of chemo infusions, which was the Red Devil, or doxorubicin, adriamycin, and Cytoxin. So they told me it was going to be worse, and so we just thought it was the chemo. And luckily my oncologist was aware of the potential to develop this adrenal insufficiency because of the Keytruda immunotherapy. And he did test my cortisol before my last chemo infusion, or before, the one in question, the second adriamycin, and it was low. My cortisol was low. So he had referred me to an endocrinologist, but I didn't have that appointment yet. And he had given me hydrocortisone to take after the chemo, but it just wasn't enough. And so when I hit day 6 and the steroid injections wore off, I did not have enough cortisol in my body for my body to recognize that it was fight time. We had to recover from this chemo. And so my body just kind of started to shut down. So that Sunday morning, I was very dizzy and lightheaded and really nauseous, and I just wasn't feeling well. And I thought maybe I needed to go to the bathroom, but I really wasn't sure. I had a vibration about me that felt like it was different than the vibration of the world around me, if that makes any sense. I felt like I was leaving my body, like I was vibrating at the wrong frequency for the world around me. And that's really the only way I can describe it. It was like a trembling, but I wasn't trembling. There wasn't a tremor. So this vibration, feel like a tingling sensation all over my body. That's what it felt like when I was going into crisis. My husband walked me to the bathroom. We sat me down on the toilet in case I had to go to the bathroom. And I was just kind of overwhelmed with this vibration that I can only describe as a vibration. I fainted and fell off the toilet onto the floor. And my husband had my daughter sit with me and went to call 911. Now, I don't actually remember losing consciousness, but they said I did. I fell off the toilet and onto the floor. I remember going down, and I remember being on the floor and my daughter kind of having her hand on me saying, "Don't get up, Mom, don't get up." And the EMTs came. My blood pressure was unreadable the first time they tried to take it. They actually stood me up and had me walk down the hallway and then sit down, and then they took it again, and it was super, super low. So I took an ambulance ride to the hospital with my husband following, and spent 36 hours in the emergency department while they went through all of the, is she bleeding internally? We had a CAT scan. We had I don't even remember all the tests that they did, but they had to run through their kind of emergency room flow chart, even though my husband was saying, her oncologist says she has suspected Addison's disease. She needs a stress dose of steroids. She needs to get the stress dose of steroids. And finally, once they spoke with my oncologist at my husband's urging, after 6 hours, they gave me the stress dose of steroids. Now, right before that, my husband had sent my oncologist through text message a screenshot of my blood pressures, which were low and going lower as they were giving me fluids, which is the opposite of what it should do. And that's why my oncologist prompted him to tell them to call me right now. The attending physician called and spoke with my oncologist. They gave me the stress dose steroids, and within an hour, my blood pressure was normal and I was hungry. So that was my diagnosis. It was a definitive diagnosis that I had an adrenal insufficiency crisis. And I spent 4 days in the hospital on IV steroids, high dose IV steroids, like 100 milligrams of hydrocortisone every 8 hours for a day, 24 hours, and then 50 milligrams IV hydrocortisone every 8 hours. And then they sent me home on oral steroids. And then I saw the endocrinologist the next day who confirmed that that was the diagnosis, and she put me on oral steroids, for the rest of my life. So what's it like living with Addison's? Or, well, it's not technically Addison's because it's not primary adrenal insufficiency, but again, the effect is the same. I need to take oral replacement steroids or my body will not live. It just will not continue the functions of life. Cortisol is necessary for life. And hydrocortisone is the closest replacement to cortisol that there is. And prednisone and dexamethasone are other versions of a corticosteroid. And then for some people, they have to take fludrocortisone as well because they can't regulate their electrolytes. Now, so far, I've been okay to regulate my electrolytes. So day to day, the first thing is I need to take hydrocortisone I take it every 6 hours during the day, and then I don't take it overnight, but sometimes I do take a dose right at bedtime, and I find I actually sleep a lot better if I do. So I take 6 a.m. I take, right now, this is my maintenance dose. Now I'm gonna try and taper this lower, but I'm still pretty close to chemo and surgery, so I'm just not at the place where I'm tapering down from here yet. This is actually lower than I have been while I've been on chemo. So my current dosage is 15 milligrams at 6 a.m. That is a half hour before I get out of bed. And then I take 10 milligrams of hydrocortisone at noon. I take 5 milligrams at 6 p.m. And if I have something to do late in the day, I will actually take 10 milligrams at 6 p.m. And then I take 2.5 milligrams at bedtime, which is usually 11:30 or 12 o'clock at night when I go to bed, anywhere between 11 and midnight. So that's my maintenance dose at this time. If I'm having a really busy or a stressful day, I have to up those doses. If I have an illness, an injury, or some emotional stress, I need to up dose. And so there's no real easy way to know how much cortisone you need to take to replace the cortisol that your body would be making, because your body would do it automatically. If you have something stressful happen, your body would make extra cortisol. If your body, if you have a really busy day and you're going and you need to kind of, dig deep and get more energy, your body would make extra cortisol. So since my body doesn't, I have to kind of do that manually. It's really difficult because there's no way to measure. So there's not you would have a glucose meter if you were diabetic. So you could check and verify your blood sugars. You can check if it's low or high and decide what kind of medication you might need to take. With this, you can't do that. It's really just based on how you feel or how you think you should be reacting to some outside stress. This is physical stress, like an illness or an injury, or just a lot of walking, for example, or emotional stress, like bad news, or your pet being sick, or just stressed out about hockey tryouts or finals that your kids are having or something. So any of those things can affect how much cortisol you would be. Sorry about that. My alarm just went off to remind me it's time to take my meds. So it's noon and I just had to take my 10 milligrams at noon. So yeah, I have alarms set on my phone. I actually have it set every 4 hours because if I am having a really busy day or a stressful day, or if I have a headache or some other side effect from chemo or something, then I will take a dose. I'll take the 15 milligrams at 6 a.m., but then I'll take maybe 5 milligrams at 10 a.m. and then then the 10 milligrams at 2 p.m. instead of noon, and then another 5 milligrams at 6 p.m. So I take it more frequently, and then I don't need to take as much, because if I do start to get symptoms of low cortisol, like nausea, stomach pain, the low blood pressure or high blood pressure can also be a sign of low, that lightheaded feeling, or kind of a short of breath feeling, dizziness. I haven't really gotten to a point where I have that extreme fatigue. Even just a dull headache can, I think, be a symptom of low cortisol, although it could be a symptom of something else too. I mean, I've had migraines for most of my life. So if I do start to have symptoms of low, then I have to take extra like right away. And I wouldn't start with just 5 milligrams. I would probably start, usually I would start with 10, but if I'm really feeling like really that kind of that vibration starting, then I will go for 20 or maybe even more if I really felt like I was nearing a crisis. Because if I have that nausea, especially if I vomit, then that can become an emergency extremely quickly. And this goes for if I have food poisoning or a stomach virus. If you do not make your own cortisol and you cannot keep down your oral steroids, you need to go and get an IV, because again, if you don't have that fight or flight hormone, your body doesn't know to fight, and it just says, okay, I guess we're gonna die now. So you need to, if I started to vomit, then it would be an emergency injection and a trip to the hospital immediately. I would need to have IV fluids and IV steroids until that passed. So if I ever have a stomach virus, that means I'm pretty much guaranteed to have to be hospitalized until that clears. And this goes for anyone with adrenal insufficiency. So that was my crisis. Right now, again, those are my daily doses that I just went through. And what else? So I have to wear a medical ID. I have 2, and they're currently both on the same arm because the other arm still has lymphedema that it's dealing with. So you see it's a little puffy. So I don't want to put anything that might restrict circulation there. So I have a medical alert bracelet that has writing on the back that says adrenal insufficiency, and it says 100 milligrams IV hydrocortisone, and it has my husband's contact information in case of emergency, because if I am ever unable to speak for myself, I need to have those steroids first. Like whatever other treatments I might need, I also will need that. And then I also have the same ID on the side of my Apple Watch. So, and the Apple Watch actually monitors my heart rate. I will also notice my heart rate will go up as an early warning sign of low cortisol. And then I have to carry my emergency injection and extra meds. So I have the different doses of hydrocortisone. So I have 10s, 5s, 20 milligrams. And then I also have other medication that I take daily, just here in case I happen to be out somewhere when it's time to take it. So I take pantoprazole for gastric reflux, and I take metoprolol for the low blood pressure. Actually, it helps to raise my blood pressure, and as opposed to, for many people, it helps to lower it. And that's because I have a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or I don't have it badly. It's like right on the borderline. So, but this does seem to help, and it definitely helps me feel better. It's kind of eliminated that chronic low blood pressure and the orthostatic hypotension. That's a necessary thing to take every day as well. And then in my emergency kit, I have a note from my doctor, my endocrinologist. I have more extra meds because these only hold so much, and sometimes I might run out. So extra steroids in multiple doses. So I have hydrocortisone and dexamethasone, and then I have I have Zofran in case, again, if I start to vomit, that can become an emergency really quickly. So I have that to carry with me so I can take it anytime I start to feel like I'm going to vomit. I rarely take it because it does cause constipation, and so I have to really be like on the verge of vomiting in order to take that. And then I have the metoprolol and pantoprazole in there as well. So I have extra pills, and I have 2. And so the Solucortef in there, it's in these little Acto vials that have the powder and the liquid is separated, and you have to like squeeze it together to break the seal and then constitute that liquid, and then it can be injected. And then I also have electrolytes in here because that's the other thing that happens with adrenal insufficiency is you can become dehydrated really, really easily. So I always carry extra electrolytes with me. Okay, for electrolytes, I actually love Element. And so I don't get any money from them. This is just the brand that I like the best. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 300 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium in every pack. I like the raw, unflavored Element. It's a little salty, and I like my water salty. So I usually will have at least one of these packets every single day. I have had up to 3 in the summertime a day. It's really just helped to keep me hydrated and keep my sodium, my electrolytes in balance. If you want to try, I do have a like a referral code if you wanted to try Element. Again, I'm not an affiliate. I don't make any money from them, but if you wanted to try it, I will put the link below to like they call it my salty status code. So you can order some. If you order any, then I will get a free box. So if you, I think, or maybe if you sign up for a subscription, I'm not sure, but every once in a while someone will do that. Either they'll order something or they'll sign up for a subscription and I'll get a free box every once in a while. But if you do place any order, even if it's the variety pack, you can get a free sample pack with all of their flavors in it. And so they have raspberry, citrus, orange, watermelon salt is really good, and chocolate. There's a mango chili one, which I don't like, but I have seen some people actually cooking with that one where they can kind of put it as a seasoning, like on some baked chicken or grilled chicken. So that could be good too. So yeah, so if you wanted to try Element and get a sample pack, you can place any order and you can get a sample pack with that link below. And again, I usually will put a pack, especially if you're not used to drinking salt water, the raw unflavored, if you put it in 40 ounces of water, you barely taste it. I like it a little saltier than that, actually. I'll put less water in it pretty frequently. Other than the hydrocortisone and the electrolytes, I am also working with a naturopath. For those of you who've been following me, you know that. And so I'm doing a bunch of supplements. So now that I'm stopping chemo and I'm past the chemo phase, the supplements are going to change a little bit in the next few months to more of a detox and healing array, and some of them are going to stay the same. But for adrenal insufficiency specifically, I am taking a few supplements, and one is DHEA, and this is something that my endocrinologist also suggested. So I take right now, I'm on the 25 milligrams, and so the naturopath initially had suggested going up to 50 milligrams a day. I did that, and I did notice that I had a lot of like dark facial hair or body hair popping up. So, you know, at the same time that my hair is regrowing from chemo, but I did notice that, and so I kind of cut back to just a couple times a week. And now I'm taking the 25 milligrams of D. So I went back down to 25 milligrams after I finished that bottle. And I'm really still also only taking that a couple times a week. When this bottle is gone, she suggested that I go down to 10 milligrams of DHEA and then take it every day. So it's a more consistent level. But for now, 3 to 4 times a week at the 25 is fine. I also am taking a glandular supplement. So this is Zymogen's T150, which has some desiccated glands in it. And the idea here is that it is, the adrenal cortex, or the HPA axis, is responsible for many different functions, not just production of cortisol, although that's the one that's life-threatening if you don't do it. So taking some desiccated glands, so these are like bovine glands that are desiccated in the little capsules, the theory is that it can help to kind of give your body the same support that it would have if it had functioning adrenal or pituitary or hypothalamus. So, and thyroid is also included in here. So there's a thymus, spleen, pituitary, adrenal, thyroid. And then there are some amino acids in here as well. So this is just to kind of support the functions that would be happening if my pituitary and adrenal gland worked exactly properly. I do find that I have more energy and I have more alertness. Like I feel like there's less brain fog when I take this versus when I don't take it for a while. Because I do stop supplements from time to time to just see if I feel a difference. So I do take the T150, or we're restarting the T150. I was not taking that during the chemo cycles. So we'll see now that I'm restarting it, how I feel. And the other one is just vitamin C. And so that supports all kinds of cellular functions in the body at a cellular level. I take ester C because that is easier on the tummy. Whereas if I just took a regular vitamin C, I usually have an increase in reflux with that, and sometimes some GI upset like diarrhea. So I do prefer the ester C, and I take that daily as well. So going forward, I'm just really kind of looking forward to getting my diet cleaned up again, getting back on carnivore. I definitely felt my best when I was fully on carnivore, and I have not been fully on carnivore for a little while now, just because of the, well, it started with the adrenal crisis, and I needed to add carbohydrates into my diet to help me stay hydrated, and also avoid food aversions because of the chemo that I was on made everything taste awful. And I had already started to become averse to some of my favorite carnivore foods. And then, you know, from there, I've kind of been very loose with my diet, because I just had to take food with every chemo. I felt awful. It made things taste funny again, even the oral chemo. I had just, with surgery, not cooking for myself makes it even that much harder. When I did carnivore before, I was the only one in my household who did carnivore. So it's, I really need to be in the right headspace to kind of avoid the temptations and the easy, just kind of grab and go stuff. So we're nearly there. I'm almost fully healed. I have to take care of these two little sutures that are poking through the skin because I'm just afraid I'm gonna like reach for something and then tear it open again. So, because it hurts when I can feel it pull. It's tugging on the skin. So we'll get that taken care of. And then, you know, I look forward to continuing to document my journey. I want to do kind of a supplement rundown of the different supplements that I am currently taking now and what each of them is for. And so I'll probably do that maybe this week. And I still want to do that video on the lymphedema. So it's been tough to get the exercises that I'm doing, and then my insurance stopped paying for physical therapy, so I haven't been there in a few weeks, but we just got new insurance December 1st, so I have to call the doctor and get a new referral and kind of start over with that, and hopefully there'll be some good progress there. It's not terrible, but I don't have, like, I can't grip things, and it gets swollen sometimes where I can't even make a fist, and today's not a bad day, which is good. So, but it's, you can kind of see, I think you can see that, you can't really tell. It's tough on the camera phone, but this whole arm is swollen, a little bit bigger than the other arm, and the hand for sure is where the most of it is, the lymphedema. So, but there are dry brushing, there's lymphatic drainage massage, there's a lymphatic cream or lotion that I use, there are the compression sleeves, which I've been unable to wear, but I do want to talk about them and the different ways to combat that. So that's another video that's on my list. I made one, I didn't like the way it came out. Then I had other things that we did and I wanted to add them in. So I'm just going to start over with that, and hopefully I'll make that soon. And as I get back to a more strict carnivore, I'll probably be posting kind of examples of the things that I'm eating, and then how I'm feeling, and really track how I'm feeling. Because I know from the last time that once I really kind of commit to that and I'm in that right mental space to do that, I'm gonna feel so much better, and I really look forward to that. So have a great day. this is, you know, this is a milestone for me to be a year. It doesn't seem like it was a year. I feel like I slept through half the year. But a year ago today was my adrenal crisis, and everything changed then. And so now we're looking forward to the next year. They told me it was permanent, but I have encountered 2 other people in the Facebook support group for Addison's disease who did have adrenal insufficiency due to Keytruda that were able to taper off of their steroids. So there, I have that hope. I'm going to be one of those, I hope. And if not, then the next part of the journey is training a medical alert dog, a cortisol dog, to help me manage and recognize when I have low cortisol sooner in the process, and alert other people and help me get my meds, and you know, task train a service dog. So that's the other thing that I will do if I can't taper off of meds. My dog now, who's asleep behind me here, is 11 years old, 11 and a half or so. And so she is not going to be a service dog, but we've already kind of trained a little bit. Haven't really trained anything, but she definitely, when I'm not feeling well, she's very clingy. So, you know, she'll help me kind of work on my training skills to be able to train a service dog. And that would be my next dog, not this one, because she's a little old for that job. Anyway, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.